This program is rated PG. It contains themes and scenes which may not be suitable for very young audiences. Parental guidance is advised.
Be advised that the views and opinions of the hosts and guests do not reflect those of the station.
You are what you watch. Hello, my name is Harriton Wadko and welcome to our program. In the last 2 months, I have decided to prioritize what we call federalism. But like football, there are many different kinds. You have, let's see, American football, you have soccer, you have the rugby, and then after that, on rugby alone, you have about 3 or 4 different kinds of football. They're all called football. What do we know about federalism? Just like football, there are many types of federalism because there are many examples all over the world, especially in first world countries. We've heard about this, but federalism vis-a-vis parliamentary, are they both one and the same? Do they complement each other or do they come apart? How do we understand what we call federalism of what we are supposed to discuss between now and October or whenever this might be? It may not seem relevant to you, but actually, whatever we decide in a plebiscite, eventually, once we straighten out the concept of what federalism is all about, the better you are going to be. Now, how do we understand federalism and who's promoting it and which way is it going? I have prepared 14 slides out of 25 or 35 that the government has put together and has proposed. Finally, there is a proposed federal form of government together with the parliamentary. As we go along, I will ask the slides to be switched on. I will read to you the audio, discuss it as we go along so that you may understand what's going on. With us in the studio, we have JayV Hinlo, who is the Undersecretary for the Department of Interior and Local Government and Public Safety. We also have Bobby Brilliante, the spokesperson for the federal government, who's been with us. He's a politician, he's a senior member and a civil servant for all the years he's been around, and he continues to do so. Hi, gentlemen. Maraming salamat narito kayo. Alam mo, marami tayong slides, so let's go. Let's start with slide number 1, Andy, and basically, let me read to you what it's on. Can you show? There you go. The DILG, that's Department of Interior and Local Government, and the MRRD-NECC. What does that mean? I only found out in the studio just now. It's Mayor Rodrigo Roa Duterte, that's MRRD, and that's the National Executive Coordinating Council. Now, right under the People's National Movement for Federalism, this is pen-named PENAM-FED. But what we're discussing today in our topic will be the Federal Parliamentary for the Philippines. Let's go to the next slide. It's a message by the DILG. Let's see, no, it's the MRRD-NECC PENAM-FED president. It's Samuel Noel Ocampo. The shift to federal parliamentary system of government from presidential unitary should come into being via constitutional convention, or what we know as the CONCON. So the Filipino people can decide for themselves, not through a constituent assembly, which is highly partisan and controlled by a few. Let's stop there and take out that slide. Very quickly, gentlemen. Di ba ang presidente, sinabi niya gusto niya CONAS? Paano natin, di ba ngayon CONCON tayo? Bakit CONCON, hindi CONAS? Undersecretary.
From what I know, the original plan of the president is through a constitutional convention. And we still believe under the DILG, MRRD, NECC group that the best way for us to have the support of the people is for them to participate through a constitutional convention rather than allow Congress to decide this very important matter solely through Congress.
Paano yung budget niyan, Bobby? Di ba pinag-usapan na, kaya nga sinabi ng Presidente, kung gagastos lang tayo, wag na mag-con-ask na lang tayo.
Actually, may budget naman dyan. Ano? But the most important thing here is, more than the budget itself, is that the constitutional amendment should be a special project of the government where people are elected directly by the people solely for the purpose of amending the Constitution to pursue the federal system of government. Kasi if you allow a constitutional assembly, the present Congress will be saddled with so much work. And they may not be able to concentrate on the very sensitive issue of amending the Constitution. They have to attend to the legislative agenda, budgetary hearings, committee hearings, and dami-dami yan. So we believe that we can do this in a shorter period of time by a constitutional convention, aside from the fact that the people who will reframe the Constitution are directly elected by the constituents with the sole purpose of amending the Constitution.
Wasn't there a proposal by the President that a group of 25 people should be more than enough to put together the working group composed of the academe and represented by the different social groupings, rather than having an election wherein, again, the politicians with money will have their children and dynasties that will come into play and to represent themselves. For example, even the party lists.
Yeah.
They will begin to promote themselves and their parties.
Right. The 25-man committee is supposed to review the proposals and consolidate them before it
So
passes.
tuloy po yun?
Yes, yes.
Okay. And then it goes to Congress. If they amend it, then they put a budget for the CONCON.
Yes.
Okay, let's go to the third slide. It gets more interesting as we come along. Okay, the federal... Okay, that's federalism, ladies and gentlemen, and that's the Philippine flag. No need for explanation. Let's go to the fourth slide. Okay, the federal parliamentary Philippine model. Number one, the executive branch of government is somehow fused with the legislative branch of government to have unity of purpose. Why? Because the Prime Minister who exercises executive power is a member of the Parliament, and majority of the cabinet members who will be chosen will be coming from the Parliament. The legislature is unicameral. There are no upper house, lower house of Congress anymore. It is simply called Parliament, one and only legislative body of the federal government. Number three, the members of Parliament are focused on legislative work. Although some of its members, who may be appointed members of the cabinet, exercise executive duties and functions. Gentlemen, how do we explain this? Paano ito? So wala na Senado, papay kaya ang senador? Sa ingay ng mga senador, alam mo naman, sa mga hearing na lang nila, lumalabas. You know, every senator thinks he's going to be the next president-elect. How do you... Sige nga po, Yusek.
There are many frameworks or proposed frameworks for this federal government. And this particular slide shows that this is the framework being proposed by the MRRD, NECC, PENAMFED. Because we believe that for the executive to have the cooperation of the legislature, it should be fused together so that they will cooperate with each other rather than make life miserable with each body. Now, we can also say that there will still be check and balances because one can have a reserve right to actually abolish parliament. Under the setup, the president will be given the power to abolish parliament if he believes parliament is not being supported by the people already. So what is being proposed here is coming from the MRRD and ECC. There are other groups that have different versions for this federal form of government. But we believe that for the country to do away with so much politics, the executive and legislature must talk with each other and become fused and with certain check and balances. But it is to our national interest that they should cooperate more closely.
Mr. Brilliante, your comments on that slide.
Yeah, the reason why we want a unicameral is we do not want a Congress that is converted into a debating club. So we would like to...
Walang filibustering.
Yes, we would like to economize on the situation by having one body solely for legislating, and there are less processes before a law can be legislated. Unlike the present system today, you have a version from the House, you have a version from the Senate. After taking so many times in the Senate and in the House, then it would go convene as a bicameral committee in order to synchronize and trace out the differences. It's a long process. In the end, ganun din naman palang batas ang kailangan natin, because when you legislate, when you propose a bill, you have an objective in mind to solve a problem. So, shortcut lang natin ang proseso so that we can have a more effective and efficient legislative body.
Okay, let's go to the next slide, please. Here we go. The position of the President and Vice President shall be retained, both of whom are elected at large. So, ibig sabihin po yun, everybody. A vote for the President is a vote for the Vice President. The President is the figure and ceremonial head of the federal government with certain prerogatives. The President and his Vice President can be removed from office by impeachment. The Prime Minister is nominated by the President from among the members of the Parliament and confirmed as such by majority vote of its members. He is assisted by a deputy prime ministers or deputy prime ministers who are appointed by the President. He is also assisted by cabinet ministers, a majority of whom are chosen by the Prime Minister from among the members of Parliament. Gentlemen, does this not give the President the absolute power, regardless of the vote of incompetence or what you call the impeachment? Hindi kaya masyadong matapang uli, absolute authority ang presidente naman?
Actually, watered down yung authority ng President because the one that will run government is the Prime Minister. The President only nominates from among Parliament who will become the Prime Minister, and the members of cabinet, a majority of which will come from Parliament. At the same time, the Prime Minister being nominated by the President needs the approval of the Parliament itself. Kung titignan natin, hindi na magiging malakas yung kapangyarihan ng Presidente as compared to what the President enjoys now, because the executive department will be run by the Prime Minister. However, the President has the authority to abolish Parliament itself. And given at least 90 days for the next election to be had for a new set of Parliament to replace the old one being abolished by the President. So, kung titignan natin yung statement, titular head siya with certain reserved powers, but again, the executive will be run by the Prime Minister, who belongs to Parliament.
Bobby?
Yeah, actually, this is a more diminished powers of the President, because he would now be sharing this with the Prime Minister, as the Prime Minister, being the head of the government, attends to the day-to-day affairs of the government. In the same manner that why federalism? Actually, federalism comes from the root word fidere, meaning to trust. So you just have to trust your local government units like the provinces and the region. And in decentralizing the vast powers of the President, the way it is now, you are sharing these vast powers to the regional governments when you become...
Who is more powerful, Bobby? The Prime Minister or the President?
In terms of the day-to-day affairs, it's the Prime Minister.
The Vice President or the cabinet members?
The Vice President reserve personality here, except that.
So it's the best job. You just wait until the president dies.
Yeah, but this vice president under this proposal is busy because he
part
or she presides over
the
the
cabinet.
parliament. The parliament.
Over parliament.
Yes, oo. Just like in the US, where the vice president is automatically becomes the presiding officer of the US Senate. So in this case, aside from being the reserve, in case something happens to the president, he or she is the presiding chairperson of the parliament.
So the power of the parliament against the president is impeachment, and the power of the president against the parliament and the prime minister is a vote of no confidence by dissolving the whole cabinet,
The whole parliament itself.
the whole parliament.
Yes. Pending the replacement of the old parliament within 90 days, the old parliament will continue to serve its duty. But this particular framework requires that a new election should be made within 90 days.
So just this slide alone, actually we can do one whole TV show just on that issue alone. Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, we'll go to the next slide because we're tackling 14 slides. The prime minister can be removed from office by 2/3 vote of no confidence by the members of the parliament, or when the parliament is dissolved by the president. In both instances, his deputies and cabinet ministers are deemed resigned but shall remain in office until their successors shall have been duly appointed. The Philippines is divided into several regional political units called states. Each state is empowered to become self-sufficient, self-reliant, and autonomous. There is a transfer of substantive powers of the national government. Each state government collects national taxes, fees, and other charges and automatically retains its share. Yusek.
That's correct. No, we give more power to the states. If presently the sharing is 80% is given to the national government, only 20% goes to the local governments. It will be a reverse. Under a federal setup, the 20% will be given to the national government. The 80% will be retained by the local
So mas may
government.
pera na.
Yes. Kailangan po yun kasi napapabayaan po yung mga probinsya. And na-centralize masyado yung power dito sa national government.
Can we go to the next slide and we can discuss this as you're looking at the slide? Andy, can we put on the next slide? What I've done here is, well, you have the president and the vice president on the top, who now appoints the deputy prime minister with that arrow going to the left. As you go down, the prime minister is slightly on top of the deputy ministers, of course, and then under him, the cabinet ministers. So this little rectangular box will form the executive. Is this correct? Is that correct? My layout, parang ganyan.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, then we go down. I know we're going to have to extend one more minute just on this one. The parliament, assuming there are 17 regions, you have 3 representatives per region, assuming, no, can we go back to the same slide, the old slide, the one before this? You have the 17 regions, because right now we have 17, assuming 3 representatives each, so you have 51 legislators. The parties, the 5 parties that are identified, that'll be in the next slide, is the labor, youth, women, farmers, OFWs, indigenous people, and the elderly. And then, of course, you have the seats of government. Ang presidente sa NCR, legislative sa Davao, ang judiciary sa Cebu. Is this slide correct, gentlemen? Tama ba yan? May mali dyan. Let's go back to the slide so we can look at it as we discuss on the audio. Let's give it 30 more seconds.
Under this framework, we will recognize the regions to become states.
Correct.
So, to include Negros Island region.
So 18 regions na.
Yeah, yes. Under the new setup, because we have to respect the will of those regions. So, it's actually to include Negros Island region.
18 na. Okay, we're going to have to take a short break. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're picking up. We're making an effort to decipher the many slides that they have put together, because this is a quantitative, qualitative study that this group has put together to promote what the government wishes for a proposed parliament federal government. I hope you're picking up and understanding this. When we come back, we will continue. We have about 8, 9 more slides. I hope we can do this and finish it now. We'll be right back.